So welcome back to another episode. So this episode's pretty cool. This is the first time that I've interviewed a guest. I was, a bit apprehensive to bring guests on, but after this conversation, I think I'll definitely be doing it more because it was really awesome to speak to Ryan. Ryan and I actually first came in contact because Ryan broke my Guinness World Record for the assault bike over 24 hours. So I spoke to Ryan about getting him on and us talking through how it went because, I've experienced it, he's experienced it, but in this conversation, we didn't just get to talk about the Guinness World Record. We actually spoke about many other things and things like why it actually drives us to do these things. And especially my favorite one is Ryan's attempting to do 500 miles unsupported, which is a crazy, crazy endeavor. But anyway, I won't hold you up. Let's jump in. Ryan, thanks for jumping on, man. It's nice to properly get to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This, I got to open up with the fact that you're walking on a treadmill right now with a rucksack on. Can you run us through what the fuck you're doing?
Yeah, so I think, kind of as we were talking about, I'm doing the Colorado Trail starting in August, which is a 500-mile through hike, and it's known as one of the 10 premier FKTs in the world. So it's a very competitive, very difficult, fastest known time that athletes will go for.
Yeah.
The variation I'm doing is called Unsupported. So you can't get any food along the way from a gas station or from a stash that you put in the woods. You have to carry everything on your back. So yeah, what I've been doing is just in between training sessions now, instead of resting, I pretty much just walk all day, typically barefoot with a ruck on.
How long do you think the 500 miles is going to take you? Like, what have you kind of planned for it?
So the direction that I'm going, it's never been done in recorded history, but people have done it in the opposite direction. And based on those folks, I'm hoping to do 14 days. So that would be about 35 miles a day. And over total, it's 90,000 feet of elevation gain.
Oh,
so it's it's just mountains the whole time. You're just climbing up and down mountains.
I feel like people can't understand how big that elevation actually is until they're out there. Like that is disgusting.
Yeah, it's tough, and it affects your sleep a lot too. If you're not used to sleeping at altitude, a lot of times you got to make camp at 12,000 feet, and it's hard to breathe up there. So you're expecting you get to lay down for the night and have a really nice night's rest, but you're breathing only a portion of the oxygen that's available to you, maybe at your home when you're sleeping in your bedroom.
All right. So with the food because you're unsupported the whole way, like you're out there for 14 days. So you're saying that you have to bring all of your own food for 14 days.
Yeah. So I'll have a big food bag, and then I also plan on foraging along the way, berries, mushrooms, different wild edibles. So yeah, that's the game plan right now.
All right, that's awesome. So can you get supplies for water, I assume? You'd have to get water supplies.
You can get water from natural sources.
Oh shit. Okay.
So rivers, lakes, that stuff's all good. But I don't think, even if it's free, I don't think you can get it from a gas station. It has to be from natural sources.
Far out, man. That's crazy. That is awesome. I love it. What made you want to start doing that? Have you, sorry, just to overlap another question. Have you done stuff like this before, or is this just, I'm going to jump into 500 miles because I'm crazy and I love it?
So I teach wilderness skills. So a lot of times I will either on my own do solo trips or take other folks out and do long trips through the bush with minimal gear and food. So I've definitely done stuff of this nature, but I've never done 14 mountain ultras in a row, right? Because that's what it breaks down to. You're doing 14 mountain ultras, 14 days of greater distance than a marathon. And yeah, so this will be the highest mileage, hence why sort of for the unsupported stuff, you have to go alone. You can't really do something like this with a partner. it just doesn't really work. You know, they say if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone.
Yeah.
That's kind of what applies here.
Well, you're kind of doing both.
Yeah, I guess both. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Well, when's that one?
So I will start the morning of August 5th, which is a Saturday. So basically like a week,
Far out. Have you been training for it long?
like 3 weeks.
Wait.
Um,
Yeah, so no.
no, not very long. I hurt my feet, and so that's why I went after the bike thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll get into that. But right after the bike thing, I did a 70-mile unsupported run for charity, and I hurt my knee because I hadn't run more than like 6 miles, like in training. So I hurt my knee a little bit, and I have slowly been building it up. So my fitness, I would say, is not that good right now, but my body is finally healthy. So that feels good.
Yeah. So you've decided my body's healthy, so I'm gonna go fuck it up by doing 500 miles.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I get it. I don't think there's many people that get it, but I get it.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's like it's a weird itch you have to scratch, isn't it? Like it's just something makes you want to do it. Once it's in your head, you just can't stop, right?
Yeah, a pal of mine just did he just did his first like ultra biking event, and they biked over 3 mountain passes. It's like 150 miles. And he was just like looking forward to it, looking forward to it. And I'm like, trust me, man, this is the first page of the book. He's like, after this, you're gonna be addicted, like fully addicted.
Yeah, it's just some weird. It's hard to actually articulate what brings you back to doing it, but I think it's like a mixture of adrenaline and like excitement of it, and oh God, there's so many, and like being proud. There's so many mixed emotions. Is there a specific emotion for you that like draws you to it?
Well, I feel like a lot of it for me isn't even conscious. I feel like a lot of it is like this innate thing where our bodies have this ability to weather storms and adapt and go through incredible learning experiences. And then once it's over, set that to the side and be like, yeah, that was miserable, but let's go do something else. Because
Yeah,
if think about it, if you were handcuffed to that miserable feeling from a 100 hours of not eating and trying to work out, you would be scared to then go forth and try things in the future. So I think anybody who's alive today comes from a breed of humans that have instincts to continue to try hard things.
mm. Yeah. I think it's probably something that's more so like ingrained into us, but we lose rather than something we don't have
Yep.
and have to find, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it kind of brings me to the thing of how we, I guess, started speaking. So you decided to destroy my record. Thanks for that.
Dude, I appreciate you bringing it up and making it a thing. Without you, there was nothing to work on.
So do you want us to run us through what you did?
Yeah, sure. So it kind of starts with what we were saying. I hurt my feet. I got like this neurosis from being in the mountains and basically my feet freezing. I couldn't really even walk. So I was trying to figure out, being an athlete, what do I do when I can't really walk? And the only thing that wasn't hurting was stationary biking because there's no impact. And I had an assault bike, and I was like, well, let's see how long I can go in assault bike for. And so I looked up like kind of the different records, and I found yours, which seemed like the most miserable, which was 24 hours straight of assault biking. And yeah, that was how it kicked off.
Did you? Because I've got so many questions because there's not many people that can relate to this, right? So for me, when I saw the record, I'm sure you did the same thing. You kind of broke it down by hour, and you're like, "Fuck yeah, that's all right. Like that's actually not too bad." And then you get like 13 hours in, and you go, "Oh yeah, no, that's different. Like it's a lot worse than I thought it was going to be." Did you have the same kind of feeling?
Yeah, I broke it down hour by hour. Um, it's not, you don't have to bike that fast, right?
No.
to at least for what we're doing. Somebody's gonna beat my record. Maybe somebody listening to this later. It's beatable. Um, it's honestly just so miserable.
Yeah.
Like it is the least fun thing I've ever done in my life.
100%. 100%.
If you're running in the mountains and you're doing a 500-mile run, you're going to have really good moments each day, multiple times a day, saying, wow, look at that bird, or there's a giant bear right there. I'm going to take a cold plunge in this stream. When you're on the assault bike, you're just miserable nonstop for 24 hours. You're never having fun.
Yeah. 100%. You couldn't put it any better. Like it's just a constant negative. And like there's probably like one small glimmer of hope when the sun comes up. And then that lasts maybe 20 minutes. Did you start at night or in the morning?
Started at 9:05 a.m. I planned to start at 9, but then like we didn't have our shit together, so then I moved it back to 9:05 a.m. and finished at 9:05 a.m.
Yeah. So what did you end up finishing on?
Mileage wise,
Yeah. Okay,
I think it
miles.
was, oh yeah, you guys do K. I forgot. I think miles was 426.9.
Yeah, nice.
So I don't know what that comes out to in K.
Is it roughly 700 Ks? Just under about 700 Ks?
Something like that. So
Yeah.
yours was 396. So I was like, if I can get in miles, yours was 396. I was like, because I had watched your stuff. I knew you were a savage, and I was like trying to base it off. I was like, okay, Ethan got 396. I would be stoked to get 400. And then I got to 400, and I just once I like got past the record, then I felt like I could let it go and just like really try and go fast. Because before that point, you don't want to go hard because you're scared you're going to blow yourself up.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I had the same thing. Like, I don't know who had it before me, but I literally beat it by like 10 meters, man.
Whoa.
Yeah, like as soon as I beat it, because like you said, it was so miserable and I was in such a bad place mentally. As soon as I finished it, I was like, fuck this. And I just quit. I threw in the towel, which in hindsight, I very much regret that decision. But like, I just was so sad and so down. And then I just like, I cannot be on this bike anymore. And so as soon as I broke the record, I was like, get me out of here.
I don't blame you at all. Honestly, it was so miserable. I think I had a really good team for mine. Like I did it at a local gym that
Yeah.
my friends own, and had my mom, sister, girlfriend, like, kind of by my side. And they're just all positive people. And I don't know, I just had a really good crew, which you don't realize how important that is until it's 4 a.m. and you've been biking for 16 hours. And you're like, I was just, so I got super bloated in the beginning because
Yeah.
I'm sure you took in a bunch of salt, right, while you're doing it.
Yeah.
But I took mine in too quickly because in the beginning, I wasn't actually sweating because the pace was so manageable. So I was taking all this salt in kind of preemptively, and I got a huge bloated gut, like I was pregnant. It was protruding out of my stomach like nothing I've ever seen before. Like people were staring at it. I was getting like self-conscious. People were like, "What is up with his stomach?" And then that happened maybe 7 p.m. 9 p.m. I started farting and then ended up shitting my pants.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
so like I'm just like going into the middle of the night, finally feeling better, but also knowing I just shit my pants. Like I'm like, what am I doing this for? I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
15 hours into an assault bike. I'm shitting my pants. I was bleeding from both nostrils. It was brutal.
Fuck. I mean, it's not an ultra unless you shit your pants, right?
That's what they say. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Did you find like by the end of it, your ass was just sore as sitting down?
Yeah, mine looked like I had a cheese grater. I just had like red marks kind of all over my ass, like all the way down both cheeks.
Yeah. Did you wear bike shorts or did you just rock normal shorts?
I got bike shorts like 3 days before because everyone was telling me that I was being stupid.
Yeah.
So I got handed down bike shorts. I tried them and they actually made it worse. So then I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to wear bike shorts. And then like 3 days beforehand, I was like, I'm going to buy these and I'm going to bring them. And if I want to use them, I can. And if I don't want them, then I can just not use them. And I ended up using them. So
Shit. Yeah. Well, what do you think was the hardest part then? did you find, besides the just general overall misery of the event?
Hardest part, I would just say kind of those late night hours, which is what I was expecting. When it's like 3, 4, 5 a.m.
Mm.
and you have like one of your best friends next to you and you're just like relying on them to keep you sane.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're so fragile as a human being at that point. Like anything going wrong could just throw you completely off the rails.
Yeah, there's this real dark spot. I mean, for me, I personally get that dark spot roughly around like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. every single event I do, no matter how exhausted I am or how shit I'm feeling or how good I'm feeling. 1 to 3 for me seems to be that real, like, start asking yourself those questions. Like, why the fuck did I even do this? Like, does it even matter if I finish it? Who cares? Like, just stupid questions you'd never ask yourself. But did you get those around a similar time when the sun comes down?
I felt good, I think, um, until maybe 2 a.m. I would say like 3 to 6 a.m., like just before the sunrise. That's always when I have the biggest struggle. It's kind of that second half of the darkness is typically when I start hallucinating, my stomach gets really bad. That tends to be where I struggle. So we could adventure together. I would help you out from 1 to 3,
Yeah.
and then I would be a train wreck and you help me out.
Isn't it an interesting feeling, right? When you feel so shit and you've been going for so long, but then all of a sudden it flips and you feel good. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
starting to think to yourself, like, how the fuck do I feel good after 17 hours of something so crazy? That's such a crazy feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I'm curious, how did you handle when you did the bike? What was your strategy? Did you go like hard and then rest, or did you go like consistent the whole time?
Yeah,
Or
so
did it switch up depending on how you felt?
no, so I found the pace and I stayed just slightly above the pace for the whole 23 hours. And then at 23 hours, when I hit it, I got off. That was it.
Hell yeah.
There was
And
nothing else.
I feel like I tried to find it. Was the guy that had it before you, he was also an Aussie?
Yeah, he was. I think he was in Sydney. And he looks like he made a pretty big thing out of it. Like it was like I don't mean your training prep wouldn't have been that long either, because I had a pretty short training prep. And I remember when you messaged me, you only started training for it not long before you actually went for it.
Right.
So like how long did you train for it specifically?
Specifically 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
which is nothing. Like I felt like the guy that before me when I was doing the research, I think he was putting in some serious amount of months for it. So someone's going to come through and obliterate both of the records, like no
Yeah.
doubt. Um, the
And
thing,
I've said this before. It's like the record I set is also beatable, and whoever wants to beat it when they do, it's theirs. Because
yeah,
I'm not doing that again. Like
nah,
I'm
no
good,
way.
just good. I'm good. You can have it,
Yeah. Have you submitted all the evidence with Guinness?
dude. That honestly, when you said the what was the hardest part, that was the answer I wanted to give was
Yeah,
dealing with them,
fuck.
dude. That was like, and also it's like a really
It taints the experience, man. It really
it's a
does.
weak part of my character, right? Like it's very detail oriented and like
Yeah.
organization requiring, and I'm more like big picture. I ride the bike, hopefully everything else works out. But they nitpick the hell out of you and make you have every little single thing. Um,
What
Luckily, I had my mom there who handled a lot of it.
Yeah, like what the fuck is a bike calibration, honestly? Like I mean, like what? Someone comes over and goes, "Yep, the bike looks good." Like it's the most ridiculous rule. I don't even understand it. Like I bought the bike brand new and then took it out of the box and then they still made me get it calibrated.
Yeah, so I went back and forth with them. I tried to use you as like a crutch. I was like, Ethan used an assault bike, blah blah, like, and so I talked to Assault, the company that
Yeah.
makes the bikes, and I'm like, can you guys just send me a new bike and say, like, with a little note, this one's checked and it's good to go? And they're like, no, we can't do that because you could open it, take one of the fans out, lessen the resistance, and then do.
I wouldn't
I'm
have
like,
even
oh,
thought of that.
I'm like, guys, this is a non-issue. I will literally record myself opening the bike. There's no way I'm gonna take one of the fans out.
Fuck, I didn't even think of that. I should have taken all the fans out. Just done it on nothing.
So yeah, I mean, it was so crazy. But eventually, I found this guy named Aaron who was great, and he does like servicing for all assault bikes and rowers and that stuff. And they said, I asked him, like, is this guy qualified to? I don't even remember what they called it. They're like calibrated or something.
Yeah, well, the thing I've learned, because the first time I did a Guinness World Record, it was a nightmare, man. Like the stress of it, and then I realized that it just is about ticking a box. And like, if you think less about what they're after and more about ticking the box, you kind of get it done a lot easier.
Well, I wish I would have known that because I went way too hard.
Yeah. It's like you still obviously you got to do everything by the book, but like the way that they have it is just it is pretty. Some of it's pretty ridiculous. So I did a 24-hour burpee one that I measured the lines. Well, I misunderstood one of the rules. I don't know if you saw this, but like I thought that when they said legs to the line, I thought they meant like just behind the line. So I did 11,000 burpees 1 centimeter short of the line. So I missed the Guinness World Record, even though I did it. So it was just like sometimes you can get yourself just stuck from one little rule.
So wait, so you're down in a burpee.
Now, so the first one
bring your.
I did actually one ages ago. This was like 2017 or something, where it was just I didn't even do the chest to floor. I did just the ones where your arms are straight, legs back, legs forward, up. Like
okay.
And that one, the legs had to be like parallel with your arms, not like just before it. And that's what I misunderstood. So that was a fucking lesson in attention to detail.
Yeah, it's so arbitrary. Like, who decides that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty weird. Do you think you'll try and do another Guinness one?
I don't know. If I do, maybe not a 24-hour one. That I feel like was what made it so hard. Not from like I like the 24-hour time domain. I think that suits me fairly well, but all of the Guinness shit that went into doing a 24-hour event, like we had 2 different cameras live streaming at each time, and they could only be 8 hours each. And so we had 2 of them. So we had like 4 phones and 4 computers, like constantly switching angles and trying to get all of the required distance and time in shot. It was just like a nightmare to film.
It's very stressful, isn't it? Even when you're on the bike, you're still stressing that the recordings are going.
Yeah. Dude, the whole time I'm like sitting there and I'm like worrying about the camera right here.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. I feel like it actually takes away from the reason of why you do it in the first place. Cause like you're doing it to test yourself, push your limits, all of the above, right? And then all of a sudden now you're kind of doing it for this trophy. And like it kind of like why? And then you get it and it's cool, but like it's just a fucking piece of paper at the end of the day.
Yeah, part of me was like, if I don't get the Guinness World Record, that's fine. Like I know that I followed everything to the best of my ability, and if they decide that one of my camera angles was not good enough, then it's like out of my control.
Nah, as long as you've got footage of you're doing the bike the whole time, and you've done the logbook and taken photos, and they've seen the screen logbook, you're fine. Because just who knows though, right? I can't talk. The amount of ones I've failed as well. Like I've failed at least 3. So who knows?
You failed three records.
Yeah, I failed another one which was burpees in 3 minutes. And then I failed another one which was burpees in an hour. So.
Oh God, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, no, they're not fun. They were, but I think I'm like what you're saying. I feel like the 24-hour time domain is a really good time because even if you're not necessarily the best athlete, quote unquote, if you can suffer, you can kind of win those ones. You know what I mean?
It's all about what you have between the ears.
Yeah, because no matter how fit you are, man, you still want to fucking shoot yourself in the foot when you've been on there for 15 hours. Like,
oh God, how did you manage taking breaks?
I think I did roughly hour, just under an hour, and then I took like 3 or 4 minutes, and that was like, or I would just, when I needed to go to the toilet, I would sprint to the toilet, well, hobble to the toilet, take a piss, take a shit, and come back. And like that was pretty much it. But I kind of regret the way I did it. I think in hindsight, if I was going to do it, I would have gone harder, taken breaks, had sleeps, like treated it more like an interval challenge. Did you do that, or did you go the whole way through?
I took one break every hour at the end of the hour. So I had like a certain distance I wanted to go. I'd hit that distance. I'd get off, immediately go to the bathroom. I'd lay down or like sit down and gun my legs real quick with like a Theragun and then right back on.
Yeah. Did you feel
So I,
sick
I
from
never
the?
rested more than I never rested more than probably 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So that's pretty similar to me. That's about the same strategy I had. Did you start to feel sick from the fatigue buildup? Like to the point where at the end of it, your legs were just struggling?
No, I mean my fastest hours I think were hours 23 and 24, like my
Yeah.
my best distance wise, because I made it so that I would get to 396 at hour 22.
Yeah.
So then I would have like 2 hours of spare in case like a disaster happened. And so I got to 396, and then I just tried to like really rip it the last 2 hours. Um, and I remember being at the end of it. It was really cool because it was in a public gym. It has to be like a public space. So
Mm.
people were coming in. It's 8 a.m. the next morning. People have come, gone home, gone to work, slept, and then came back. And everyone got on like other assault bikes that the gym had. And everyone was like riding with me for like the last hour. And I was just ripping as hard as I could. But I was so dizzy. I got really dizzy. I don't know why. I had to close my eyes because I felt like the bike was going to tip over, even though it's a stationary bike. So I'm just like eyes closed, pumping as hard as I can.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, there's nothing better than that like last bit where you've got it. It's in your fucking hands, and now you get to just like enjoy it. So
Yeah,
good.
it was great. And I don't remember much like right after. Apparently, I went outside and laid the grass and was just speaking complete nonsense. Everyone was just like, didn't know what I was saying. And I don't really remember what I was saying either. But I remember I just wanted a really cold mimosa, just like orange juice and champagne.
What an interesting drink to want post
That's
24
what we did.
hours.
We had mimosas.
Nice. It's was that your first 24-hour event?
No,
No, so you've done
I've
other ones?
done. I did the Ultra World Championship, the Spartan Ultra World Championship in Telluride. So that was just a good notch on my belt to have, knowing that I've done like a 24-hour event before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think people are pretty apprehensive to do 24-hour events until you've done one and you realize that it is a lot more possible, you know?
Yeah, I think about that with all of ultra endurance. There's a lot of folks that I'll see them hike 20 miles during the day, and I'll be like, "Yo, you could do an ultra." If you can hike 20 miles, you can probably do an ultra. Like,
Yeah.
that's the required fitness. If you can do a 10-hour or 12-hour hike through the mountains, you can run an ultra marathon. They're not that much different from each other. And
Yeah.
they'll be like, "No, I would never do an ultra. That sounds way too hard." I'm like, "You basically just did it.
Yeah.
You
It's
just
it's
completed
crazy.
it."
People just I think in general like they just got this fear complex around what they haven't done. And that's why I think people that sometimes are a little bit like, I don't know for myself, and sounds like you, where you like kind of don't think things through as well. It almost helps you achieve things easier because you're just like, oh yeah, that's probably possible. Let's just go.
Yeah, I think thinking less. There's definitely something to it. Like a lot of it comes from overthinking, right? Like to the point where you're obsessing about something and then it freaks you out and you get too detail oriented and think about all the things that could go wrong instead of just being like, I'm gonna go out there and try it, and if I fail, maybe I'll try it again.
Yeah.
I get it. Good.
That's it. I mean, like that's the thing. Like you've never done 500 miles, but you've also never done it. So how do you know if you can do it or not? Like there's only one way to fucking find out, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's like for that, I'm gonna feel a certain way after 3 days. and I don't know, like sitting here right now, I can't tell you what it's going to be, but I can tell you there's a range of things. One of them is going to be like, I feel amazing, surprisingly, and I've run even more miles than I plan to. There's a middle outcome that could be like, I feel okay, but this is really hard. And then there's a third lower range outcome where it's like, I'm not hitting my miles and I feel absolutely destroyed. One of those three is going to be the case a couple days in, and it's just going to be what it is.
Yeah. And also it's not, and when you've been in that, dark spot, you also know that there's sometimes a good spot around the corner too. And people that have never been in that don't realize that until you've done it.
Yeah, it's waves, right? Like running or a big endurance thing is always in waves. And I always try not to get too high on the highs because originally, excuse me, I would, go on a long run or an ultra or something, and I would get so high in the beginning and feel amazing, like life is mine and everything in my life is perfect. And when you let yourself get a little bit too high, you know that the dip is going to be just as severe. So it's like acknowledge the high, acknowledge that you feel good right now, you're moving, your body feels good. When you're at the low, just acknowledge the low, be like, yeah, it sucks, but it'll pass. And you just kind of acknowledge the state rather than getting super hung up on it.
I bet that that's taken time to be able to have that attitude though, right? Like you've obviously got experience with going up, having those ups and downs now.
Yeah, in a variety of ways. I definitely have a lot of experience suffering, as do you. But for the unsupported Colorado Trail, it's kind of a different one than the normal endurance event because you're completely alone. First of all, it's all solo, so there's no one to pick you up when you're sitting on the side of the trail crying. Like you just got to have a good cry by yourself and just figure it out and keep moving. And then it's monsoon season, so you're constantly battling storms, sleeping in a little bivvy on the ground, like fighting for my life each day, more so than you would in like a normal trail race.
Yeah. It sounds honestly, because I have zero experience with that type of stuff, and that sounds terrifying, which now makes me realize that I'm gonna have to do something like that, you bastard.
Yeah, no, you'd be great.
But
If you're down to suffer, you'll be fine.
so whereabouts are you? Colorado, as you say?
Yeah, Colorado.
Colorado. Is that where you're from as well?
Kinda. I moved all over the place growing up. I spent a lot of time in Ohio, but yeah, I've been here for the last several years, and that's where I live now.
Shit. 500 miles, man. That's absolutely crazy. I feel like that's going to be one of the most interesting things you've done by far. Like the suffering that you're going to have knowing you're halfway through, you've done 250 miles and you still have 250 miles to go. That's going to be such a weighted feeling that I'm looking forward to hearing about when it's done.
Yeah, it's gonna be intense. I was talking to one of my mentors. His name's Matt Graham, and he he's a survivalist and a world class ultra runner. He's doing it this year. He attempted it last year. He got 370 miles, and he's attempting it again this year. And I asked him, so there's, you can go in two different directions on the Colorado Trail, and there's also a split in the trail. So there's 4 variations total of the Colorado Trail. The variation that I'm doing, no one has ever completed, uh, unsupported. And I was like kind of confused because so many psychos like you out there. I'm like, how has no one done this? And he was like, well, I think there's 10 people in the world that can do it.
Yeah.
He said it's that hard. He said he thinks there's 10 people in the world that can do it. And I'm like, damn,
Is
I'm
there,
probably not on that list.
but no one's done it. Like, so even though your goal is 14 days, like, is that yourself if you put that goal on yourself, or is there actually like an external time limit you have?
No, I asked today. Well, I asked yesterday to like, so outside.com, I think they run the FKT website, which is like has all the fastest known times. And I asked, is there like an upper limit? And they said no. So
Uh,
14 days is my goal, but it could be 16.
Yeah. And is it going to be one of those ones that if it's 16, it's 16, you're just staying out there?
I like to think so. The biggest thing is for unsupported style trips is food. Um,
Yeah.
so at some point, I'm gonna run out of food. At which point, I can forage. Depending on the season, I could try and hunt or fish, and try and make it that way. Moving a lot slower, obviously, but at least getting some calories in.
Ah, man, you've obviously got that's a bit of your background is doing all that stuff though. So at least you got some preparation for it. That's
Yeah, I mean that's those things are what I love. So I feel like even though they would slow me down, it is kind of like a something I feel comfortable with is being outdoors with very little food.
I mean, for me, I can imagine if I was out there for 11 days, the last thing I'd want to do is get extra Ks trying to like hunt in the opposite direction or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely not the situation you want to be in, right?
Yeah,
Ideally, everything goes really well and you have enough calories, but calories equal weight. So
yeah,
you're playing this weird game when you're planning. Like, I really don't want to have a ton of weight. The first day of my hike um, is going to be between 7 and 9,000 feet of gain, and I'm going to have a full pack. So I'm going to have my pack's going to be as heavy as any time during the trail. And I'm just like thinking about that first day, like, man, I need to make sure I don't overpack because 9,000 invert with a big heavy pack on is not fun.
well, have you got an idea of how much weight you'll have in your pack yet?
Yeah, kind of. I I should do better at that. Again, planning and details I'm not super great at, but I think it'll be roughly like a 15 to 20 pound food bag and then 15 to 20 pounds of gear.
Yeah, shit, that's a lot of weight to be
Yeah.
doing 500 miles with. Like, even 5 kilos of weight over 500 miles would drop performance by 20, 30%. Like, and then he's got this like 50, 60 kilo, 30, 40 pound pack on. Like, fuck, It almost like, it'd almost be that if you see an opportunity to eat on the way, you'd almost take it, hey, to save calories. Like if you get the opportunity to hunt or things that are convenient, you do that so that you have calories at the end, right? Like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So I'm thinking, especially towards like this middle section, there's going to be a lot of berries and mushrooms. So, and a lot of those you can get right on the trail. So, I mean, just stuffing my pouch full of berries and mushrooms, and then just chomp on those and try and save some of the calories. Uh, my goal, if I'm able to do it. So, remember I mentioned I did a 70-mile unsupported run.
Yeah.
That was the last 5 sections of the Colorado Trail. I think there's 38 in total. So my goal would be, because now I know I can do that in one day, 72 miles,
Yeah.
like to get to that point and then have a good bit of food left and push through like that last day and just do like a 70 or 80-mile day and finish with a bang.
Always looks good on paper, doesn't it? Yeah. It's one of those ones.
You saw right through that one.
Yeah, I know the feeling, man, because I've the amount of times I've planned a challenge and I've looked at it and I go, fuck yeah, that's very doable. It's just this many Ks, this many hours, and then you're fucking halfway through and you're like, God damn it, I knew it was not gonna be like this. Like, but it's all right. Either way, man, that's what you're there for. You'll fucking get it done. It's certainly gonna be fun to watch. Are you streaming that or anything? Is there anywhere like we can watch that?
Um, so I'm gonna try and do Instagram like selfie kind of videos whenever those upload. I don't know. It's pretty backcountry, so it's like no service kind of thing. And then there will be ideally an hourly tracker. So I'll have like a GPS on me that'll, you know, it'll beep every hour and send out into the universe where I am at that point in time. So you can roughly follow the dot as it goes across the map.
Yeah, mad. That's oh yeah, because it's unsupported. You can't have anyone support you. Fuck, that's right. I forgot about that. God, man, that's such a. I feel like people can't understand the weight of what you're actually about to do unless they've had any experience in that, because unsupported anything over it is hard. Anything over 1 day, is really fucking hard. Not to mention you're doing 14 days unsupported. Like even your calorie intake, you're going to be needing like 8,000 calories plus a day for what you're doing. Surely, no?
You can't.
Yeah. Okay.
You wouldn't make it with that much.
But
I'll
that's
probably be having about
yeah.
3,500.
Okay. Well, that's the thing
I
is
would
like,
love to have 8,000,
yeah, that's the
but
thing. So you're going to be in a deficit pretty much for 14 days. So you're going to drop a bit of weight, and you're going to just feel energy deprived.
yeah, I did a 14-day trip with really little food. In 2018, I lost 15 pounds in 14 days. So I would expect that I lose about 20 to 22 pounds in the 14 days.
Shit. Oh man. Well, good luck. I think maybe we'll just end it there, because that's just fucking a lot to take in. That's awesome, man. Thanks for chatting with me today. This has been
Of course.
such a good chat. It's nice to talk to someone that does all of this shit. It's awesome.
Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for being the inspiration. I watch your stuff, and you're always inspiring me. Like, seeing you do the assault bike is a big reason of why I ended up doing it, and all the crazy shit that you're doing. Like, I pull a lot of inspiration from you. So thank you.
Thanks, brother.